Today we're going to talk about how to glue on a tire properly for triathlon racing. The differences between gluing on a tire for triathlon racing and gluing on a tire for road racing or on a track cyclist is very different. We want to put on just enough glue to keep the tire on the rim without the tire rolling off. With track cyclists and roadies, they put so much glue on, when they take the tire off, they actually rip part of the rim off as well. We don't want to do that. So the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need a tubular tire. You're going to need stands, and the reason why we're using stands is because I like to do preventative flat repair ahead of time before I even put a tubular tire on the wheel. The reason for this, in a triathlon race, if you get a flat tire, your race can be pretty much over right then and there. So we want to do everything we possibly can to do to prevent flats. You're going to need an injector syringe for the stands. We're going to need continental rim cement. You can use any tubular tire cement. What I do is actually I drill a 4mm hole in the top of the can, and I use just a baby medicine syringe from Walgreens. What I do is I put the syringe in there and I'll pull out 2 tablespoons of glue and pre-glue the rim. First thing we need to do though is we actually need to take the valve core out of the tire. So I have a little valve core tool. I stick it on here and I pull the valve core out. I pull the valve core out of the tire. Set that aside. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the stand. Shake it up. You really want to shake it well. You can get this on pretty much in any bike shop, any place that sells mountain bike stuff. It's primarily used for mountain bike tires. It's liquid latex is what it is. I'm going to fill this up. I'm going to try to get about 15 milliliters of stands. Stuff makes a mess though, so I want 15 milliliters of stands. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press the syringe injector onto the valve stem without the valve core in it. If you have the valve core still in your tire, you're not going to get the stands in the tire. Hold the tire upside down and just push the stands in the tire. You have to do this a couple times just to get all the air bubbles and get the stands down in there. Pull off the stands injector tube. Just set that aside. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the valve stem. You put the valve stem back in the tire. You really want to take the valve stem tool, the valve core tool, and tighten it in there good and tight, because you don't want any leaks coming from there as well. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some Teflon tape. We're going to take about an inch and a half of it and just rip it off. So just rip off about an inch and a half. And you want to really put it on the threads. And you really want to be careful when you put it on the threads not to get it up past the part that tightens on the valve stem down. So if you do that, you won't be able to get air in your tire. So you just lay that on there. Now you take your valve stem extender and you tighten it on there good and tight. You'll notice there's a 3 millimeter hex in the top. Take a 3 millimeter wrench and just give it a quick turn. You don't want to over tighten it, because what you can do is you'll rip the tube away from the valve stem. You don't want to do that. Next step is we're stretching the tire. This is always the hardest part about gluing tires, is stretching the tire on the wheel. You want to place the valve stem in there. You really want to. The best way to do is put it on the ground. Doesn't matter if I don't have glue on the tire because we're just pre-stretching. So now I'm going to get it on there. Like I said, this is not the easy part. Just roll it up on there. Straighten it out. Now we're going to grab a bike pump and we're going to pump it up to 130 psi. We're going to let it sit 130 psi. Okay, now that we let the wheels sit overnight with the tire on it, that did two things. It stretched the tire so we could glue it on easier. It also made sure there weren't any leaks in the tires, manufacturer defects in the tire, and that the valve core is in there well and good, so there's no leaks there. So that ensured that we don't have any leaks, and it stretched the tire. Next thing we want to do is we want to let all the air out of the tire. So I have a 1.5 millimeter Allen. So I'm just going to let all the air out. Let all the air out of the tire. Now I'm going to peel the tire off. Just pull it right off. Set the tire aside. I'm going to put the tire in the truing stand, and then you'll see why. So I put the tire in the truing stand, and this is for an ITU wheel. This is not for an Ironman wheel. An Ironman wheel, I take a piece of tape, and I put it opposite end of the valve stem. I put a piece of masking tape about 3 inches long on the opposite end of the valve stem. And what that does is it keeps this spot from getting any glue on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is pre-glue the rim. I have my 2 tablespoon syringe and my can of glue with the hole in the top. So I'm going to take the syringe, I'm going to stick it in the hole that I already drilled out of the can of glue, turn it upside down, and I'm going to fill it with about 2 tablespoons or 10 milliliters of glue. There's 10 milliliters, so 10 milliliters of glue. Next thing I'm going to do is, now that I have my wheel in the truing stand, I'm going to put glue on the outside rim of the wheel. So I'm going to put about 5 milliliters on one side. Five milliliters on one side. And you really want to avoid getting it in the holes where the spokes are. So I got 5 on one side. I'm going to switch over and do 5 on the other side. I'm going to just finish it up by taking the round end of the syringe, sticking it in the tire, and just giving it a quick few turns. And that spreads the glue evenly on the outside rim of outer edge of the rim where the gluing surfaces of the tire. So we'll do the same thing, just so that way all the glue is spread on the outside rim where it needs to hold the tire, and it doesn't fill the nipple holes. So next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this sit for about 25 minutes to an hour. Just make sure the glue is tacky, and then I'll put another 2 tablespoons of glue on, about 10 milliliters of glue, and then I'll stretch the tire on the rim when it's wet. So the next step is we'll let this sit and we'll come back and glue it again.